Hey everybody, welcome back to Keto and Crime and Thought Crime. Today I've got a much requested video for you, and for the occasion I am wearing the tie-dye again because this one's colorful. Today we are getting into a deep dive on Zulema Ruth Pastenes. Okay. For some reason, I want to call her Pastenes, and I know that for some reason I'm adding that second syllable, and I don't know why. But Zulema Ruth Pastenes. Pastenes. Pusta pusta. Okay, Zulema Ruth P is who we're going to deep dive in on today. Anyway, I don't know why I have a mental block about her name. When I was a kid, I had a very pronounced stutter, and I stuttered on anything that began with the k sound. So anything with K or C that did the k sound. And I had a mental block about them. I would find every single way I could get around having to say them. For example, with a sentence that said can, I would try to say may more often, so I wouldn't have to say those words. And I find that when I don't think about it, it's no problem. But I have the same kind of block with Miss Zulema's name. For some reason, I want to put that second syllable on it, and I cannot get it to come out with just that one syllable. I apologize. I grasp my underachievement and my shortcomings. So anyway, we're going to talk about Miss Zulema Ruth today. Now, before we get into it, I want to say a big shout out to my channel members and my patrons. I couldn't do this without you. Thank you for allowing me to upgrade. I got some great new backgrounds and stuff I'm going to be trying out this year, thanks to you guys. The new mic, possibly a new camera. Anyway, I really appreciate everything you do, and I also appreciate those that watch me, whether you're subscribed or not. And if you're not, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It just takes a second. Gently press it, because there's been a lot of people smashing them here lately. I see that. So I don't want you to abuse it. We're not about abuse. Just gently press it. The same with that like button, that bell notifications. And we have a lot of fun over here. And I'm a little quirky and weird, as you can see. But anyway, I apologize. I had a sugar-free Monster. I know it's not healthy. So, but I'm a little jazzed up right now. So with that being said, let's get into it. Miss Zulema Ruth. All right, first of all, there's not a whole lot of information on our girl out there, really. It has been wiped. Even her website, where I understand she used to, kind of hire herself out as a spiritual guru and teacher, gone. Just any podcast that she was ever on, just gone. The same with anybody from this strange Avow network of people. Anything with them, gone. Except for Julie Rowe. She seems to still be out there on the interview circuit. I've even had a couple of email exchanges with her, possibly about doing an interview. I don't know if that'll ever happen. If you guys want it to, let me know. I will be happy to have her on and be as tough on her as I possibly can. But everyone else, any media that is not just specifically covering the trial, gone. Just gone from the depths of the internet. It's like the best scrub job I've ever seen. And she's no different. Zulema Ruth is no different. It's just gone. But a few other YouTube channels out there did locate a very obscure podcast. I don't even know the name of the podcast or the person interviewing her, because the audio is terribly bad. That's why I'm not sharing it with you. But it's just terrible. I had to listen to it 3 times with headphones. My tinnitus kind of got jagged up really good because I was trying to listen to it. but I was able to glean some notes from it, as well as I dug into some obscure articles and documents to piece together some kind of portrait about our girl so that we can understand who she was, why she was involved in this, and just the just insanity that just naturally surrounds this case. So that's where I got my information. I can't give you any information on the podcast, but if you YouTube it, Zulema, that dreaded P word that I can't seem to say correctly, so I'm not going to embarrass myself anymore. If you YouTube that with podcast, it will come up, but it is very poor audio quality. I'm just going to warn you. Even if I did know the name of the podcast and the name of the person hosting it, I still wouldn't want to give them a shout out. Because I don't want anyone, because the person that was hosting it was evidently a student of Miss Zulema, and I think her name was Katie, but we don't need to make more of those kinds of people. So I'm not going to give her a shout out, but the overall gist of what they believe or seem to believe tends to be this weird mix of evangelical Christianity and New Age. And this student seemed really infatuated by Zulema. It was almost like verbal worship, verbal orgasm when it came to it, because she was literally kissing her butt, if you know what I mean. It was like the most obvious brown nosing I've ever seen in my life. It made me ill. So, yeah. So that's where I got my information. So let's talk about it. So my information is a mix of what I could glean from that podcast and some documents and stuff I was able to uncover by being all snoopy. So public record, but still snoopy. So let's talk about it. So as I said, this whole thing that Zulema preaches, oneness with the universe, she calls herself an observer and a teacher who is connected to the universe as a whole, but yet they kept talking about Jesus. So it's some weird mix of Christianity and New Age stuff. She seems to believe that power flows from the universe and there are no levels of success. I thought that was very interesting. No levels of success. She simply believes you're either successful or you're not. And I didn't understand. I couldn't really get, because of the poor audio quality, I couldn't really understand or get her justification for that. Because there are varying levels of success. I'm not rich, but I consider myself successful in running my business. I consider our community here a success. I'm not as big as other true crimers, but I'm growing, and I consider myself a success to the point that I am. So what does she, in her twisted view of world and life, consider successful? So I couldn't really glean that. I wish I could have. But anyway, she believes if you don't believe in this power that flows from the universe, you won't be successful. Now, this is where I began to remember, I did a video on the Love Has Won cult. I'll link that above. But there seemed to be some strange rumors out there that maybe Zulema was connected with that cult. So I went back to my research on them and dug into their belief system. And if you want to see that video, it's right up there. But a lot of it is very parallel to what Zulema was talking about. So it is quite possible she was a member. Now, if you haven't seen Love Has Won, their channel here on YouTube, it's hilarious. They literally argue with each other about their belief system. But it seems to be this type of, the same thing that Zulema's talking about. For example, varying levels of success. That's in their doctrine too. The belief that you're connected with the universe, the use of metals and healing ceremonies, which we'll get to a little bit later on. The belief that homosexuality is a sin. Also in the Love Has Won, which we'll also talk about a little bit differently. Belief that love flows freely, but only the universe can select your appropriate mate. Again, Love Has Won. The mother figure in the Love Has Won actually selects couples. and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that is very much like Love Is One. So I'm going to say that, yeah, I think she's at least studied them. I don't know if she is actually a member. Can't find any proof on that. If anybody has proof, please drop it. I'd love to see it. But yeah, so can't really say for sure whether she was a member, but she's definitely studied it. So anyway, with that being said, she was born in 1964. She's 56 years old. She has been married 5 times. She is all too American citizen. She is a resident alien from Chile. And she, according to her on this podcast, her stepfather was a predator that preyed on her and her siblings. So if she was a victim, I feel very bad for her. I really do. So, but that I could find no information on that because she came to the United States on her own as a teenager, and so I could not find any records, of course, from Chile to corroborate that or not. But anyway, she did mention that she had a pregnancy scare at age 8. That's scary. So maybe she was a victim of something that shouldn't be going on. And she was talking about talking to the doctor when her mother took her in for the symptoms she was having, and the doctor asking her had she been sexually active, and her saying no, but the doctor knew by looking in her eyes that she was lying. Well, Zulema, sorry girl, he didn't know that by looking in your eyes, and she's using this as an excuse for, her belief system that all are connected. No, he knew you were lying because he probably had a positive pregnancy test in his hand there at the time, but or at least some sort of hormonal test that, or had done appropriate exams on you and knew. So I don't think it was because he was looking into your eyes. But anyway, she said that throughout her teenhood and young adulthood, she spent a lot of time in therapy, particularly hypnotherapy, trying to find relief from the quote-unquote demons she was dealing with. And then finally, in the early 80s, she immigrated to the United States. She's still a resident alien, as far as I could tell, still not a citizen. And ended up in Montana, of all places. And there she married, in 1984, she married her first husband, Kevin Ochoa. Now, she did attend a college in Miles City, Montana, but she never completed a degree. I have no idea what she majored in, but she did attend a couple of semesters. From her marriage to Mr. Ochoa, she had no children. And then after leaving him and getting involved with another man by the name of Joe Lopez, she had a son, Joe Lopez, who is the one that would later on find Alex Cox dead on the bathroom floor, and we will listen to that 911 call a little bit later, but that is the son she had with Joe Lopez. Then she married another man, and I'm going to probably butcher his name too, Johnny O'Freighton, who is supposedly the owner of a pretty famous Western hot dog shack called Johnny's Hot Dogs, and with him she had one daughter. And that daughter, of course, I'm not going to reveal her name here on air because she is trying to remain anonymous and separate from this. Don't blame her. Fourth husband was a gentleman by the name of Shannon Hunter, and she had who already had a daughter. And in 2013, this stepdaughter accused Zulema of manipulating her brother, so there were two, stepbrother, stepsister, into trying to commit suicide. Now, I don't know if this is true. This is just what that stepdaughter said. And then there was a very contentious divorce from Mr. Hunter in which Zulema allegedly stole $10,000. Now, I have to comment on the fact that this woman, so far in our story, has been married to 4 American citizens. Why does she not yet have American citizenship? There's something strange about that. There's something strange about Zulema. She seems to float from person to person, probably backed up by her belief that that love and marriage and sexual attraction is all universal, and it just fleets and fleets. So I guess that's all kind of backed up. Now in the 90s, we kind of lose track of Zulema, except for her a consistent record of arrest. Now this is public record. You can go Google her and arrest records. It's all there. But during the 90s, she was arrested at least 4 times for drug and drug paraphernalia possession. And in at least 3 of those arrests and charges, the drugs were classified as deadly. And I have heard so many different opinions about what exactly the drugs were. I mean, it just says drugs in the charge. It doesn't say, or unlawful substance. It doesn't really say what they were, but I've heard methamphetamine, and I've heard cocaine, and I've heard heroin. I don't know. But the prosecutor considered them deadly substances. And why wasn't she like sent back to Chile after all? I don't know. I don't know. No, I don't know. That's dredging too close to being getting political. Anyway, and then in the interview, after Katie, the host, is just kissing her butt some more, she comments that she discovered her powers later in her adulthood. And while exploring her powers, she explored several, different religions and belief systems. Maybe Love Has Won was one of those, because like I said, their beliefs run very parallel. And then she joined a vow sometime in the 2000s. And that's where she first became acquainted with Chad Daybell. I guess her cray matched with his cray. But she began to say that she believed that not only was she a spiritual healer, spiritual guide, spiritual counselor, she also had powers over the elements. This woman believed she could cause earthquakes and other natural phenomena, just like some of Chad Daybell's characters in some of his books. She believed she could cause natural phenomena. And supposedly, she was supposed to cause an earthquake in November of 2019, which would parallel with one of Daybell's end of the world predictions. But of course, we know that didn't happen. So Zulema, the power flows just short of you. But anyway, and the ironic thing is, this woman has claimed to be 35 or 36 years old for several years now. And being that her daughter, the one who shall remain nameless, is 36, no. But I find it hilarious that she claimed to be 36 years old when any picture of her, she clearly looks like she's in her late 40s, 50s. I mean, there's no way around it. Zulema. But anyway, as I said, her website, everything to do with her spiritual healing is just wiped. So I could not confirm any of that, but I was able to take the Wayback Machine and find some references to that. All right. Then she got into the herbal and natural element healing and used a malachite solution and balm for a lot of her spiritual healings. Now, I researched malachite and found that it can be pretty toxic when wet. So when it's put into a solution or a balm, which I assume is some kind of waxy ointment, it can release copper fumes, and it's hard to tell how much copper is actually in any amount of malachite. So, yeah. So it's quite possible that she could have actually been poisoning people. Even if it was unintended, she could have been poisoning people that she was supposedly doing healing on. So that's very interesting. And I will say again here that Love Has Won used metals, including mercury, because we know how beneficial mercury is to people, to heal people. She also Again, offered conversion therapy for people that considered themselves homosexual or bisexual or anything besides heterosexual. And we also know, again, Love Has Won believes that homosexuality is bad. And then again, her history of jumping from spouse to spouse shows that she has a very loose interpretation of what monogamy, love, that sort of thing is. I know there may be some people in my audience that are into, open relationships, and I respect that. But it's not my thing. I don't necessarily understand it, but I respect it, and that's your freedoms. I don't want anybody to think that I'm like saying that's bad. I'm just saying that's what she did. And it kind of ties in with her overall beliefs. Not that people that do that have those beliefs. I dig myself such a hole sometimes with these videos. I really do. I don't mean to. I just want you to know I'm just sticking to the facts of this case, and I interject. Maybe I shouldn't. But she also tends to be, according to what I heard on that podcast, she's very cold when it comes to talking about other people, even her children. It's just kind of blasé. It's like, you remember how I said I thought Melanie was kind of a apathetic person when it comes to children? I feel that Zulema's kind of that with all people, because she really doesn't portray the warmness or, overall charisma that you would expect a faith or spiritual healer to have. She's just very cold. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be around her. And so let's talk about, now that we know where she met our kooky, crazy people on a vow, let's talk about how she was twisted up in the case in general. So, evidently, through a vow, through Jad Daybell, Alex Cox, Lori Vallow's brother, and Jason Mao, our wonderful Let's Seal Them, even though they have living partners, Jason Mao, zombie movie Jason Mao, were actually undergoing her spiritual healings, her spiritual counsel. Now, according to what I have found out, Jason Mao was just basically going for anger management, depression, just basic run-of-the-mill stuff that you would expect somebody to go to a counselor for. Alex, however, supposedly was dealing and battling same-sex attraction, and she was trying to convert him. As I've mentioned before, I was sent to gay conversion therapy twice. Once as a preteen, once as a teen. Both times. Didn't work. Because you can't change somebody's sexuality. You're born that way. It's in your genes. It's in your chemistry. So, she was trying to cure him of being gay. Now, I don't know what that therapy consisted of, because later on she married him. So I can only imagine. But we do know that Jason Mao supposedly has not been connected with these crimes, but Alex is up to it to his chin, at least until he died. We do know that in July of 2019, that Charles Vallow, Lori Vallow's ex-husband, the uncle/adopted father of JJ, was shot and killed by Alex Cox. And Alex Cox called 911. I'm going to drop that video here, and I want you to take a look at it. Not take a look at it, but listen to it. Alex Cox is very cold about what just happened. He is not in any way wanting to save this man's life, do CPR, even though the 911 operator is trying to find out, is he actually dead? Very cold, very callous. I'm thinking all these people are just totally apathetic. And so if he's been through counseling with Zulema, I'm sure that's just made his worse. But as you can see here, He's very, very cold and callous about it. Drop that here.
It's at 5531 South Four Peaks. I think it's Four Peaks Lane. I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, you say you don't know the direction?
I don't know the street name, if it's a lane or court.
It's 5531 East, though?
Yeah, or South Four Peaks.
5531 South Four Peaks in Chandler. Is that right?
Yes.
You need
yes.
police or paramedics?
Both. I'm in police and an ambulance.
What's the emergency there?
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in self-defense.
Okay, let me get the medics on the phone. And is he hurt or is he alive or?
Yeah, there's blood. He's not moving.
How long ago did this happen?
A couple of minutes.
Fire department, what is the address of the emergency?
5531 South Four Peaks.
And is that a house in Chandler?
Yes.
And your phone number, please?
480-351-9120.
And just repeat the address to confirm it.
5531 South Four Peaks.
And what is the emergency?
I shot my brother-in-law.
Okay, what part of his body is injured?
In the chest.
I'm sorry, where?
In the chest.
Okay, is he awake and responsive or unconscious?
Unconscious.
Okay.
Now, we also know that even before Lori married Charles Vallow, that he was connected with a attempted murder or a physical, almost deadly altercation with Joseph Ryan, who was Tylee's father, and actually did a stand-up comedy routine about it. So again, callousness. Could this be connected to Zulema? If anything, her counseling probably made it worse. And then, of course, we know that later on he was suspected of having shot at Brandon Boudreaux outside his Arizona home, and also being connected to Brandon Boudreaux's now ex-wife, Melanie Palawaski, and was the one that actually drove her against restraining order to Brandon Boudreaux's parents' house in Utah, and actually assisted her in trying to see her children against court order. And then when she was arrested for it, after Brandon Boudreaux's parents wisely called 911, Alex Cox immediately went and bailed her out. So again, total disregard for the people they have tried to hurt, attempted to hurt, just total disregard for their well-being. And then according to Brandon Boudreaux, and even Ian Palawaski, which Melanie Palawaski's current husband, Alex, Lori, and Chad were all trying to convince or tell Melanie that her children were dead, or that they were dark. Anything that just very callous, unfeeling, just evil. And so supposedly Zulema was all up in this and knew about it, because not only was she counseling members of this conglomeration of evil, she was dating and sleeping with Alex. So you know she knew more. And then, of course, the attempted shooting outside the Daybell residence of Tammy Daybell, which failed. They suspect Alex may have been a part of that because the sound of the gun was uniquely the same as Brandon Boudreaux described. And then Tammy Daybell mysteriously dies a few months later of unknown natural causes. Now, I may be reaching here, but the fact that Zulema did work with healing metals, healing elements, did anyone on Tammy Daybell do a search for heavy metals? You know, they haven't released her exhumed autopsy yet because, Chad just rushed her to the grave. So no autopsy was done at that time, but that we're still waiting what they actually found in the exhumed. I'm going to be interested to see if there were any heavy metals in her system. If you have any information on that, drop that below. But It's just too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence. I'm not saying that Zulema handed it to Chad, but maybe because people were involved with her, he knew that this kind of stuff could happen. So, anyway. So, December of 2019, well, actually, the end of November 2019, Ian Polawoski, Melanie Polawoski married in Las Vegas along with Alex and Zulema. 2 weeks later, December 12th, 2019, Alex collapses on the floor of Zulema's bathroom to be found by her son, Joe Lopez, who makes the following 911 call. And I want you to kind of listen to the lack of urgency in Joe's voice. It's just very disconnected, very displaced. I think much like his mother probably was. So it's just interesting. Just listen and then we'll come back.
911, where is your emergency?
Hi, I need an ambulance to. Yes.
Why do you need an ambulance?
I have a older male, a middle-aged male. Um.
He is breathing?
Yes, he's breathing, but very, very highly breathing.
Okay, let me transfer you to Mesa or the medics. Do not hang up.
Okay.
Is it just due to a
Fire and medical, what is the address of your emergency?
Go over with it.
Caller, are you on the line? Hello, is
Hello?
anyone there?
Yes, this is. I'm here.
Okay, you're at for.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, what is the emergency?
I have a older male here named Alex. He just passed out here on my bathroom.
Okay, is he awake right now?
I think he's passed out.
Okay, you think he's unconscious?
Yes.
Okay, is he breathing normally, like you can see his chest rising and falling? Hello?
I hope so.
I have the paramedics on the way, but I need you to try to help me with some information while they're driving there to help him. Okay?
Okay.
How old is he?
He seems to be in his 40s.
Okay. Do you know him?
No, it's my mother's boyfriend.
Okay. And how old are you?
And notice that he said my mother's boyfriend. He did not say husband. Did he even know they were married? Was that even like a real legitimate marriage? Or was it just to be a beard for him because he was really gay? I mean, who knows? Now, upon investigating what happened, after speaking with Zulema, who was evidently at work when this happened, and her son called her, she came home. She told detectives that Alex had been complaining for the last week or so, ever since going to Idaho to visit his sister. He came back complaining of shortness of breath and chest pain for about a week before this happened, and that he had actually thought about going to Mexico to get respiratory drugs to see if they could ease it, but didn't, and this is the result. Now, the medical report and toxicology on Alex revealed the following. He was 227 pounds at 6'1", so not overweight, at least normal overweight, maybe by medical charts, yes, but still not that bad. He appeared to be relatively healthy on the outside, but he did have some prevailing issues that they found inside his body. His lungs and the arteries leading to his lungs were clogged by not only plaque buildup, which is caused by a variety of things, diet, genetics, we all know that he potentially probably had high blood pressure from the looks of it, and he had tremendous amount of blood clots that were close to his heart and lungs. They also found some non-cancerous tumors in his liver, and he had a large prostate and a polyp in the digestive tract. So he wasn't very healthy at all. So anything could have caused that death. So I asked my mother-in-law, who is a medical professional, if he had gone to Mexico and gotten drugs, because they have caused his death. She said, well, I guess it's possible, but she said that if he had that many blood clots, most likely that's what did it, and that even if he had gotten, like, prescription respiratory drugs, the most they could have done was to open up the bronchial tubes, the bronchioli, and actually allowed him some more lung depth. But she said he would have needed to have gotten either blood clot busting medicine to remove those, and then could have gotten a stent or, other surgery to relieve the arterial plaque. But she said most likely it was the blood clots that did it. So I asked her, are there any elements like heavy metals that can cause blood clot? And she said, of course there is, but they would have to do a test specifically for heavy metals to determine whether any of that was in him. Now, if Zulema was counseling him and using her malachite on him and, basically doing, and releasing copper into his system, it's definitely that it could have caused some of that. But we don't know. Because on the toxology report, they did not test for heavy metals. They only tested for the average drugs, and they found caffeine and a drug called Narcan in his system. And Narcan is a drug that's often given in ERs or by first responders to people that are caught in an opioid trip or stupor. So why was that in his system? I don't know. But according to the East Idaho News, the attending doctor basically called his death natural and undetermined. And of course, he was cremated, so we have no idea what actually happened to Alex. And so all we know is he was having shortness of breath, chest pains, went to see Lori and them, came home still having the chest pains, called a healer who gave him a blessing over the phone, and then died on Zulema's bathroom floor. So that was Alex's very sad end. Now, what has become of Zulema since all of that? She kind of dropped out of notoriety or out of the scene after Alex's death, and didn't seem to be involved in anything that transpired afterwards. But she has popped up recently, being a fixture at some of the hearings, and also being offered use immunity, which is a type of immunity that will not allow her testimony to be used against her at a later date. It's not total immunity, and there's also some dispute about whether or not she accepted it, but that remains to be seen. It will remain to be seen if she testifies at either Lori or Chad's trial and what she has to say. I'm still very interested. But that is as much information as I could glean on Miss Zulema. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it worth your time. And I'll be back with you really soon. Until next time, Keto and Crime out.